Welcome to this episode of the Greater Phoenix Chambers podcast, Let's Talk Business Phoenix, with me, your host, Todd Sanders, President and CEO of the Greater Phoenix Chamber. In each episode, we tackle important issues and subjects affecting our businesses, our community, and the state today. Through relevant, timely topics, this podcast serves as the business community's voice with the mission of championing business growth, identifying problems that restrict economic development, and conveying community leaders to move Phoenix forward.
Let's Talk Business Phoenix was produced in partnership with Ideas Collide, an agency offering a full suite of custom marketing solutions for your brand's unique challenges. Make a connection at ideascollide.com.
Welcome back to the podcast. We are really pleased today to have Kevin Danzeisen, who is the founder of Danzeisen Dairies. And if you haven't heard about them or haven't seen them in the stores, I promise you will, and you will be happy that you discovered them. Kevin, welcome to the podcast.
I appreciate you having me. Looking forward to this.
It's good to have you. Tell us a little bit about you and your story, and maybe something that we wouldn't find on your bio.
Oh, okay,
that we find interesting.
Well, there's the story about Danzeisen Dairy and myself. It's a long one, but basically, we started Danzeisen Dairy in 2002. But it's a family business. My grandpa moved here from Southern California in 1957.
The dairy business?
In the dairy business.
Okay.
He moved to Phoenix to be in the dairy business out of California. Even back then, people were moving from Arizona to Arizona from California. So he came. He was a hoof trimmer, actually, in dairies in Southern California. That's how he made his money. And he went from dairy to dairy and actually trimmed cows' hoofs. Wow. And that's how he earned his money to buy his first 10 or 15 cows, moved over here, built the dairy in Glendale, and then moved to the dairy that we still have, which is on 75th Avenue and Broadway.
So when you guys moved out there, when he moved out there, was nothing.
Nothing.
Probably the 10 maybe, right?
The 10 wasn't even built yet.
Okay.
No, the 10 wasn't built yet. My mom talks about stories of being in the station wagon and on the I-10 because my grandpa would sneak on that I-10. There's no traffic, and he would just haul to California. He wouldn't see a car for 100 miles. He was kind of that kind of a guy. He's kind of a crazy guy. But anyways, yeah. So he passed away in '97, but my mom is the oldest of 9 kids, and so there's 52 grandkids. There's actually 54 too have passed away. I'm one of 52 grandkids, and I'm 46, but I'm actually the third oldest. Third oldest? Yeah, third oldest. There's 2 that are older than me. That's it. So we've had a lot of kids, and I'm fortunate to be able to, with my dad, purchase the dairy, and we milk cows. And then in 2014, we started the glass bottle company because we needed a change and pivot from what we were doing. It was just conventional farming. Well,
and I'm going to come back to that. So something about you specifically, Kevin, that we wouldn't find on your bio that people are like, oh, I never knew that about you. Okay. We found a guy today at a different event who actually was in a plane crash. Okay, I mean, that's pretty interesting. Tell us something that we wouldn't know about you.
Me personally, well, my dad is actually a band teacher, and so I was in his class. He made me take band, even though I didn't want to.
Was he tough on you?
He was pretty tough. I got kicked out a couple times. But one thing that you might not know is that because he needed whatever instrument he needed in the band, he made me learn. So I've learned the flute, I've learned the saxophone, I've learned the tuba, I've learned the bass drum, I've learned all kinds of stuff, piano even. So anytime he needed me, I had to learn something. I never learned any of them really well, but I learned them just enough to get through a concert.
You're the utility player.
I was a utility guy, yeah.
Could you play today still?
I could probably play sax, piano a little bit, but the other ones not so much.
So kind of a Renaissance man. That's pretty cool. Thanks to Dad. So you talked about the fact that you obviously been here a while, but then there was a pivot point where you guys decided you need to do something different. Talk about that and why, and sort of what became of that.
Yeah, well, for a dairy, we were actually quite young because, like I said, we purchased from the family, and so we didn't have that really established farming capital or assets that you needed to really make it going forward in 2014. So we either had to move out of the city and we had to get really, really big. Kind of that's just the way agriculture is going, which takes a lot of capital. It takes a lot of labor. It takes a lot of work. I mean, it just takes a lot of everything,
It
right?
probably took a lot of guts too. I mean, you even have to make that huge expansion.
Yes. It was either that, or I remember being on the farm one day and there's houses being built right across the street. And I thought, well, these people that live right next to me, why can't I just provide our milk to these folks?
Right.
And how are we going to do that? How are we going to make it taste good? How are we going to do something different? How are we going to stick out? How are we going to just make, because I knew what we made was good.
Yeah.
And we made a great product, but I wasn't real sure. I was a farmer. I didn't know how to to go after customers and talk to stores and stuff. So then, that's kind of just how the glass bottles came about. We do things the old fashioned way. So that was the reason why we did it, is because we just had to do something different. We couldn't just keep going and survive.
Well, and I think, what was the reasoning behind the glass? Because I don't know what it is. I like that. I mean, I don't know why that's something people like, but what was that all about?
Well, I mean, we wanted that taste. That's what it was all about at first. Everybody says things taste better in glass. I mean, beer tastes better in glass. Everything tastes better in glass, right? And nobody was doing it. I mean, nobody had done glass bottles in Arizona since, we thought, like the 50s or 60s was the last time that somebody had done that. And so that was the main reason why we did glass bottles, because it was just different and it tastes better. But dude, there's benefits to it too from the sustainability side, where we're not using plastic. These bottles are reusable. There's a $2 deposit. You bring them back. We actually bring them back to the creamery. We wash the bottles. We sanitize them and refill them. And so what ended up being something just about taste, being different, ends up being something that going forward for Danzeisen Dairy is very exciting, because there's not too many things that are recyclable, reusable packaging like what we're doing. And so that's what gives me a lot of excitement about what's going on with us right now on these new products that we're developing.
You should know that I've talked to more than a few parents who have used that as the gas money deal for their kids. And my son's got 15 bottles right now. He's in college. He's got to come back and take them back. But that's what he used to do. He'd go through all that milk, mostly chocolate milk, and then take them, and that would be part of gas money. So thank you for parents. That has been a big deal for us. We really appreciated that.
We hear that quite a bit, actually.
It's true. Yeah. One time his mom took him back, and he just couldn't believe it. Like, well, that's my money. No, you need to go do some work for it.
That's great.
So you obviously had that expansion. We have a lot of people moving out, especially to the west side where you are. Challenges within the local community in terms of just having coexisting next to neighborhoods where people, think that that milk just comes from a store.
We haven't had too big of a problem with that, to be honest with you. I mean, every once in a while, but we've always been trying to be great neighbors. One cool story that we had, actually, I was out on the dairy one day. And you don't know who's going to drive up, and this lady drives up, and she goes, "Hey, are you the owner?" And I didn't know whether to say no or yes at this point. And I actually did say yes, and I was like, "How can I help you?" And I had my boots on. I was full of cow stuff, and so she goes, "I just want to give you a hug." And I go, "Really? Why?" And she goes, I came from Southern California. I live right next to a dairy, and I wanted to live next to a dairy that smells like this. Yeah. And I thought to myself, unbelievable. I'm so worried about, making sure people don't smell. This lady wants to smell what we got going on. And so that you ask if we've had any problems, we really don't have too bad of a problem. It's been really, really good. But you never know what's going to happen tomorrow.
Right. Well, it sounds like you're really good neighbors, and I think that's the interesting part of the story. And what I find compelling is, how much all of a sudden you are starting to grow. I mean, we see you at our local Safeway and our Fry's, but it seems like you're everywhere now and moving into things other than milk as well.
Yes. So we started out as like I said, like a milk company, like milk and glass bottles. And the more I am in the manufacturing side and distribution side of this business, I realized that we're a glass bottle packaging company. Why can't we do more than just milk? I mean, milk tastes good. Why wouldn't lemonade taste good? Cold brew coffee. Why wouldn't other things? We now launched an oat milk that we're working on. We're working on some different
about that. Okay.
different flavors. And from what I know, that we're the only ones that do that in returnable packaging, which is kind of a big deal. So, I think, the growth that we're going to see is not just getting bigger distribution, but it's different products because we have that bottle that's returnable that big companies are not willing to go through that extra effort because it's reverse logistics. We own our own trucks. We control our product from the beginning to the end. And to be able to do that reverse logistics, we have to have our own trucks. So we drop the bottles off, bring them back. There's a lot of moving parts there that big companies kind of get mixed. Those returnable bottles will get mixed up with everything else they're doing. Well, that's all we're focused on. So putting more and more things in those returnable packaging, I think that's going to be the growth of Danzeisen Dairy going forward.
Well, and thinking about your grandfather in 50s and 60s, something that was common back then is you can actually get home delivery now. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah, we do.
How is that competitive? It's amazing that could be something you can offer.
Yeah. The pandemic brought that on. When COVID hit, people were looking to get stuff delivered to their door. And again, we can do something as a small company that big companies can't do, because what we figured out is cold chain home delivery, which the big guys, people can use UPS and all these big companies to deliver packaged non-fresh products, but that's what we specialize in: refrigerated trucks, refrigerated. We have coolers that are on the front door that we just drop this cold milk and other things that need to be refrigerated right to your door. So that's kind of our specialty, that people, again, we're doing things that the big companies are not willing to take on or haven't figured out how to do yet. I'm sure maybe someday they will on a big scale, but that's what we want to do is bring fresh products straight to people's doors.
Well, we haven't known each other very long or very well, but one thing that I can say, you're a very humble guy. But it's pretty clear that this is not a small business anymore. This is a growing enterprise. And we have a lot of people, obviously, that are in business, running business. What are some of the business fundamentals that you think about when you're running this business to make it successful and grow?
Yeah, the fundamentals is keeping track of margins is so hard right now with the changing costs that we incur literally daily. I would have to say that inflation thing, it really hit us hard last year in 2022. In 23, we've really seen a slowdown in inflation. Like we really feel it already in the first quarter. So I mean, I'm no economist by any stretch of the imagination, but I feel that inflationary effects that we felt in 23 slow down we felt in 22, slow down in 23. But that's one thing that I had to really learn real quick is to watch our margins at all times, because before you look at it, your margins are gone just like that overnight. And that happened to us in 21, 22. So we struggled there for a while, cash flow and paying bills and watching our costs, because it just got out of control. And we're just now kind of recovering from that. The other thing is just talent, like, making sure that we have great people around us all the time. We're very, very lucky that, we have a great team at Danzeisen Dairy. I'm so proud of our team, and the people that I get to work around every single day are awesome. And so we've never really had a real problem with the labor thing, but we couldn't do what we do without the right people. Yeah. And so those margins and people are the things that I try to really pay attention to is when you talk about fundamentals.
And what are some of the biggest cost drivers in terms of margins for you?
Fuel. Yeah. I mean, fuel, because not just necessarily we own our own trucks, but anything that gets delivered for, like, ingredients wise, there's fuel surcharges and the delivery costs. So, I mean, when people think, oh man, your milk has gone up so much. Well, it's not just the milk, the cost of the milk. It's everything that goes around it. It's the labor, it's the fuel, it's the deliveries, it's everything else that goes around to bring that bottle to your house has gone up more than just the milk. And so, but labor's gone up, obviously, and that's where I think growth is so important right now, because what scares me is being able to make sure our people are getting paid enough to offset the inflation that they're feeling in their houses. So we have to grow to be able to keep up with that. So it's a lot different than when we started 10 years ago in the manufacturing business. Right now, there's a lot of different things that we're just trying to keep our hands around to make sure that we're staying on top to make sure that our people are getting paid right and we're keeping our margins where they need to be.
And I think, regardless of industry, I think a lot of people right now are probably nodding and saying 100%. I mean, this is where we're all paying attention to margins and people and all of the things that really make us run. So you've talked about growth, and clearly in Arizona, you're an established brand. What are some of the plans for growth? Where are you going, and where do you want to go?
Well, I don't know if a lot of people know, but we built another creamery in Texas. There was nobody doing glass bottles in Texas. We partnered with another dairy family there. They do organic milk out in Texas. People always ask me, why don't you do organic milk in Arizona? Well, the reason is there's only 7 inches of rain a year here. There's 50 inches of rain over there. So you got to have cows on natural pastures. And I don't see natural pastures in the valley here very often. But anyways, that's a whole nother story. So we partnered with the family over there. We built a creamery that's, Texas is a big state. There's a lot to take on there. But we are now almost 400 stores over there now. That the last 2 years is what we've been building. And then we are going to launch next week in Southern California. So we'll be about 100 stores down there. So that's going to be a new thing for us. We've always kind of prided ourselves on being an Arizona company. We always will be. Doing business in these other states make me really love this state and this town even more, because this is just such a great place to do business, great place to raise a family. But growth has to happen somewhere, and so this naturally just kind of going. We're also going to be in New Mexico, so we'll be a Southwest company before you know it. And again, it's a testament to our team and to everybody that keeps making sure that we are always daily putting a quality product on the shelf.
Well, I want to go to that because, for anybody who hasn't tried to do it, because there's some sort of, I say secret sauce, it's milk, but there's something about it that's different, and not just the regular milk, the chocolate, everything. It tastes like something different. And how do you make sure that kind of quality is maintained in Texas or California or wherever you might? My kid's in Washington State, so he'd love for it to be there. How do you make sure you do that?
Yeah, well, it starts out just details, and I say we're kind of like a microbrewery of the milk business, but we do things the old-fashioned way. So we wanted to make sure, and we knew the glass bottles were going to make a difference on taste, that crisp, clean, cold taste. Milk's got to stay cold to taste good. But the other thing is all of our equipment in Texas and here is 1930, 40, and 50s technology. It's not like new technology. And one of the big things is we call it cold separation. So we keep milk cold all the time. From the time the cow is milked, we get it down to 35, 37 degrees, and we keep it that temperature all the way, besides for 15 seconds when you pasteurize it right. to clean it up, but we keep it cold all the way to your door, and that's the cold chain in Arizona. When it's 120 out, sometimes it's not always the easy thing, but and then just pay attention to details, cleanliness, making sure that every single detail is taken care of. And again, it's a testament to our team. It's not just me that's doing that. It's everybody on the same page, understanding that quality is number one.
Right. Well, one of the things that I think is always interesting about your business is, or your particular operation, is the branding. I mean, you obviously have a really interesting story. I love the YouTube video of how we just raise cows, that kind of thing. What made you kind of go down that path?
Branding
looking at making it really. I mean, you really have a unique brand.
Well, first of all, Ideas Collide has a lot to do with that. I called them when I knew we wanted to go brand our own products, and I knew we needed help. I mean, branding is not my thing. It was working on the farm, feeding cows, taking care of cows. That was my thing, and branding is was somebody else's. But once they kind of clued me in on the options and what was out there, it was kind of obvious the path that we needed to go, and that was a clean look. We wanted this clean look that was Arizonan. I told Matt and the team here when we started, I wanted Danzeisen Dairy to be a brand of when your kid goes to college, and say they go to college in the Midwest, that they're sitting in their dorm going, man, I can't wait to get back home for Christmas so I have a bottle of chocolate milk from Danzeisen Dairy. Like I wanted to be, that's what the goal was. And so the cool thing about the team here at Ideas Collide is, they took that vision and they put it in place, and I think what we've done over the years is just tell the story. I mean, it's just it is what it is. There's nothing, there's no fluff around it. It's just kind of, this is what we do, and this is what we're about. And when you see Danzeisen Dairy, I think that's what people see. And so I think we've done a good job with a lot of help with a lot of great people.
Well, certainly Danzeisen doesn't roll off the tongue necessarily, right? I'm sure people mispronounce it all the time, and I think to make it where it really is just a common name now, I think says it all.
The funny story about that is we thought about a whole bunch of different names when we launched Danzeisen Dairy, and we ended up taking Matt's advice and said, hey, just name it Danzeisen Dairy, and he's like, it kind of sounds fancy. And so I told
Swiss, maybe.
I told my buddies, we're going to keep that because everybody thinks it sounds fancy, and they just start laughing. They're like, Kevin, you're the least fancy person there is. I can't even get you to go out to a fancy restaurant, much less wear fancy clothes or anything like that. So it was kind of interesting how that all ended up.
And it all worked out.
It worked out.
Was it hard to sort of relinquish that control to someone else that wasn't a Danzeisen or wasn't part of the business?
For me, I kind of know my strengths and know my weaknesses, and I'm perfectly. I think I've done a very good job of understanding who can do what we need to do. So picking the right people, and as soon as Matt and Joel came out to the dairy, they saw the vision right away, and it was easy to hand it over when it's the right people.
Yeah. Well, so one of the other things that I think stands out is the work that you're doing on the charitable side. Obviously a part of the community. You talked about the neighbors you have right across the street. You're invested in the community. Talk a little bit about what you all do on that side.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Sometimes I don't feel like we do really as much as what people think we do. But it's important for us to give back. Otherwise, what are we doing this for? And so we worked with Alice Cooper and his Solid Rock deal. That's a really cool thing for us. Being, it really kind of fits with my dad being a band teacher and him bringing these kids in and just teaching them to learn any instrument that they want. And those are the type of things I absolutely love. We've done things with Phoenix Children's Hospital. We've done some other things like that. So, it's important to us, but, that's just part of who we are. That's who we're going to always be. I don't know. What
would your grandfather say if he were to see the operation today?
That's a great question. I think about that every once in a while. He probably, at first, when I told him we were going to do this, he probably like, you're great. Like, why would you ever do that? But I think he'd be proud of what we did. I mean, he was a rough, gruff old guy. I mean, there was no messing around with him, But at the end of the day, he was pretty progressive in his thoughts about how he was going to do business. One thing you don't know about my grandpa, he could never read or write. And I always thought, one of the things that he always had was a memory. And he had to have a memory because he didn't have to write it down.
No choice.
He had no choice. And so I always respected him that because he just worked his behind off, and he's the reason why we got to be able to be where we're at today. If he didn't set that foundation of hard work and set that foundation of where we're at in Levine and what he did, we wouldn't have been able to do what we did. So I appreciate all of his hard work. I can't imagine being out in their 50s when there wasn't the cooling, there wasn't the automation that we get to enjoy today, and he out there every single day just working his butt off. So I think he would be proud because I think he would know that he was the one that kind of started it.
Yeah, what an incredible legacy for him to see, and not only that, but all the jobs that you're creating, the economic development, the change, and not only in Arizona but in 2 other states.
Yeah,
so
we're very excited about
for a guy
the future.
who couldn't read and write. He obviously was very accomplished.
Yeah, and the other thing about him is that he helped people all the time. You wouldn't think that he did because in fact, one time. He couldn't find his car at the airport, and this was in the 80s, and he just looked like a homeless guy, and he got lost. He couldn't find his car, and people were like giving him food and giving him like stuff because he was like on the side because he just couldn't find it all night long. And so that's kind of guy he was, but he ended up finding his car eventually. But it was a Cadillac. He drove a Cadillac.
He did
around.
okay.
Yeah, he did.
Well, as we wrap up, I think a lot of people like this story, and I think it's motivating and inspiring to people. For someone that maybe has the start of a business or an idea or something they think, well, we can turn this around. What's some advice that you would give them?
Yeah, first of all, you always have to have the right people around you. I mean, that's. I mean, I've said it a couple times, but that's ultimately the reason why Danzeisen Dairy is successful. It's having the right people, making sure that they understand the vision. But the interesting part about being an entrepreneur to me is that you have to have a plan, but yet you have to be able to see opportunities and take advantage of those. Because whenever you have a plan, you have a 5-year plan or a 3-year plan, whatever your plan is, there's always going to be something that comes in the way. Sometimes there are obstacles, but sometimes there are opportunities. And sometimes the obstacles are the things that you can figure out your way, problem solve around them. But the biggest things, the biggest miss that people have is sometimes take advantage of the opportunities. And I think, this is my plan. This is what I'm going to do. That's not part, but you have to be willing to take the opportunities. That's one thing that we've been, very good at, because sometimes people bring you with 1,000 ideas. Oh, you need to make this, or you should do this, and you should do that. So you got to filter through the opportunities, but you have to pinpoint which ones are the good ones and which ones are the bad ones, because you can get sidetracked really quick. And a lot of entrepreneurs, I know a couple of them, they have this idea and they can get it started, but they can't get it finished. And so you still have to follow through, and you have to filter the ideas, because if you think the next best thing is always the next week, the next best thing doesn't just take a week. It takes a while to build, and you can't just get rich overnight or be successful overnight, whatever your measure for success is. But again, filtering through the opportunities and taking advantage of those is the biggest key that I would say. I
love that, the saying, 10-year overnight success story. You see that. Was there any of those opportunities that you look back now and, I wish I had done that?
I'm sure there's a few. I try to put those out of mind.
Probably a good idea.
I put those out of mind. But I think, in all honesty, what we've done is really take advantage of the opportunities that were presented, and not squander those. Yeah.
Is there something that we're going to be seeing in the next few months, 6 months, that's just around the corner that we should be looking for? Like, I was pretty excited when I found eggnog from you guys during the holidays. Is there something that's out there that you guys should be looking for this, or that you're thinking about, that you can talk about?
Well, yeah, no, we can talk about it. We're working hard on ice cream. We want to be, we want the best ice cream on the market, bar none, and we're working hard on getting that done. I'm hoping in the next year or 2 years that we'll be able to put something out there like that. We do have our own creamery stores, so I don't know if you know that, but we call them our creamery stores. We have one in Payson, and we have one in Levine, and we do ice cream handmade at those, and we do milkshakes, and we do some other kind of fun stuff at those stores. So if you want to come out to Levine or Payson, come out and try a milkshake, and you'll kind of get an idea of what the ice cream is going to be like. But eventually, I would like to have ice cream in stores and maybe in the Southwest region also, Danzeisen Dairy brand, but it's got to be the best. We can't just rush into this.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, that's the sign of who you are. I mean, you guys, quality. So maybe by summer we'll be eating really good ice cream. I like to put in a plug for blueberry, although I know that's probably a niche one. I'm sure chocolate. Your chocolate's amazing.
But we got blueberry milk coming out.
Oh, okay. There, you had me at hello here. Thank you. Well, I want to thank you for your time. It's been really a pleasure, and really, what an awesome story. I love starting with your grandfather coming here. We're gonna end it with a quick lightning round.
Oh boy!
All right, first job.
Picking blueberries.
I love that. See, that was the right answer. What would be your dream job? I know you're probably in the dream job, but if you had to make one, what would be your dream job?
Oh, probably a GM or an owner of an MLB baseball team.
Okay.
I love baseball.
There you go. I'm sure Derek Hall would think that was the right answer. What did you want to be when you were a kid?
I wanted to be a dairyman, but baseball player would be right there.
It didn't work out. And then finally, what's a hidden talent you have?
A hidden talent. I told you about the musician side.
That is a good one.
I again, I could bring it back to baseball. I love coaching kids and being around baseball. So my son,
team, your coach?
My son plays at a really high level. He's actually committed to play at the University of Arizona, and so I love being around baseball and understanding the game and teaching kids.
That's his hidden talent, but congratulations. when he committed for this into next season, be a freshman?
No, he'll be. He's a 25 graduate, so he committed really early.
Good. He must be really good.
He's pretty good.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, we'll definitely watch out for him. We will watch out for the ice cream, and thank you. Thanks for joining us, and we'll have you back maybe after he has his first season.
Okay. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yep.